Who knew that some of the best stories in the Star Wars universe would actually come from stories that didn't involve Jedis at all? It's time to talk about the newest Disney Plus series, Andor. Hi, my name's Stu and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. Now, I'm one of those people, and there are a lot out there on the internet, who are quite cautious about this series. I saw Rogue One. If you ask me, of all the new Star Wars films, I mean all that started, with the new trilogy with Force Awakens, etc. Out of all these new films that we've gotten, I feel that Rogue One is the best. I enjoyed that film so much. It was so fresh. It just showed that there's so many stories out there in the Star Wars world that don't require Jedi to make them interesting. Of course, Jedi are cool. I love Jedi. I think it's always cool to play them, to see them, whatever. Really great, space wizards. I mean, yeah, that is amazing. Of course it is. But with Rogue One, if you don't remember, it's a story about how they got the plans to the Death Star that then lead into A New Hope, which was the very first Star Wars film. And we see the story of that in Rogue One. Why am I talking about this? Because there's a character in that film called Cassian Andor, and he was now given, and this is what we're talking about today, his own show on Disney Plus. Now, I, like many people at the start, was a bit confused. While I liked his character in Rogue One, I was like, why is he getting his own show? Why do they think that this is going to be popular enough? I have definitely been proven wrong, because it is an amazing series and it is something very, very different that we haven't seen from Star Wars today, and that's what makes it so fresh. Now, the show was created by Tony Gilroy, who, I suppose his claim to fame in particular is the Bourne films. He made the first 4 ones he wrote, then the 4th one he even directed himself, which actually I haven't seen. I've only seen the original trilogy. I've just noticed that. So he created this series, and he set out to make a really unusual story. And it's got 12 episodes, and he sees them as story blocks of 3 episodes. And if possible, an episode is like 40-50 minutes long, something like that. If possible, you should try, and especially with the first 3 episodes, you should try and watch them. I saw this suggestion online, and I agreed with it, that you should watch them together if you can, if you've got the time to spare. Watch it as a film, the first 3 episodes, because it starts off rather slow. It does, but by the end of the first 3 episodes, you get a kind of feel of, okay, what are we going into here? And while we're at it, let's talk about the plot without spoiling it, of course, too much. We are focused on Cassian Andor, of course, the namesake of the series. He is played by Diego Luna, as he was in Rogue One, so it's the same actor reprising the role, which is always great, of course, because I liked him in Rogue One as well. Now, he is a sort of thief. We enter the story with him. He's actually on a search for his sister, and he, at the same time, he tries to get by, and he is sort of involved in various plots to steal things, I'll call it. And this is, how the story starts, and we see gradually how he gets from being somebody who is, doesn't care about the galaxy and the Empire, wants to just stay out of all of it, how he eventually gets to be the person we know from Rogue One, who is willing to do everything to sacrifice even himself just to bring the Empire down. And it's really interesting to watch this journey. Now, slight spoilers for that. We don't actually get to see it fully within the first season, so there is a second one coming. I don't know if there are many planned beyond that, but there's at least a second one, so his story is not finished yet. It's not brought to the point of Rogue One yet. Hopefully soon, though. So what makes this series interesting is more of a political thriller. So we get to see a lot of why the Empire eventually had to be brought down, or let's put it another way, why they made themselves so unpopular just with the people in the galaxy. And you really see this fascist side of them, this big administrative machine, that is just wearing people down and doesn't really care about them. And we get to see a lot of that, and that's what makes this really cool and interesting, because that's something we haven't seen before. I mean, we were told, yes, the Empire is evil. You see little spots of it here and there, but here we really get to see what the normal people, the base level people who are not soldiers or Jedi, whatever, what was done to them, and that's what I really like about this show. Now, Andor, he's got a mother. She's played by Fiona Shaw, who you might remember from things like Harry Potter. She played Aunt Petunia. She is great in here as well, so she sort of gives him support, and you can also see within her that this rebellious spark is starting to grow. She is a particularly great speech. There are a lot of great speeches. I'll say that right from the start. This show has got so many great moments, and she gets to have one of them. Now we get to see other people within the rebellion. We've got Stellan Skarsgård, for instance. He plays this art dealer who is secretly behind the scenes trying to fund the rebellion and really, you know, get it going. You've got Genevieve O'Reilly, who plays Mon Mothma, who is a figure who's popped up in all sorts of Star Wars things. She is one of the leaders of the rebellion, and so we see a lot here about how she's threading, you know, all these needles, trying to, you know, move things along. She works with Stellan Skarsgård's character, who's called Luthen, by the way, and you've got so many great moments, and there's so many tense scenes as well, because you know who these people are, what they are about, and you know, they're talking to other people, and you can see that there's just so many schemers all around the place working for the Empire, against it. It's all very tense, and that's where this political thriller stuff comes in, and it's just really great to see. But we've got a lot of action as well, so if you're the person who likes the Star Wars actiony stuff, don't worry, you'll get to see a lot of that as well. It just doesn't involve Jedis. I feel it's, while this is a spoiler, I feel it's fair to just, you know, preface it with this, because many people come to Star Wars specifically for the Jedi. So, you know, I feel that you shouldn't be hoping for something that just isn't, you know, it's not connected to the story in any way. But we've still got really great action and just set pieces. The whole thing looks amazing. We get to see various locations within the Empire, and it's all shot beautifully. You know, it really shows that the Star Wars universe, it's not just a lot of sand and desert planets or industrial planets or what have you. We've got some really beautiful landscapes in this show as well. The music is quite cool. I like that as well. So we've got this sort of, it does add some sort of, not all the time, but we have certain episodes where you get this sort of slightly sort of dystopian future, you know, also being put into the soundtrack, and some really cool vibes there as well. I enjoyed that quite a lot. Now, yeah, the actors are great, and one thing I forgot to mention while I was talking about the plot, I'll mention it briefly here, is we also get to see more of the Empire itself, so we see its inner workings, and particularly we are focused on a character played by Kyle Soller, and we are introduced to him at the start of the series, and he is a sort of the planetary sort of security forces, I'll call it. And in the start, they're trying to catch Andor, and we see that part of it. And he then, you know, gets into contact with people higher up in the Empire, and you see all that developing, and you can just see where their priorities lie and how they just don't care about the people, and they're just focused on whatever is important to them. You know, expanding, maintaining the Empire, and getting rich as well, of course, as these things usually are. So overall, it is a very good package. We get to see so many things here, but we've just got so many great character moments. You have to watch the show alone just for the character moments. A lot of them get so much to say and really great speeches. So a lot of care has been put into the characters to make them really interesting, and I love the show for it. Now, as I mentioned, we've got various arcs in the story, so you can see them sort of as in sets of 3, and I like them all for various reasons, but I would have to say my favourite is just the last few episodes. They really are. Not spoiling anything, but because of these character moments that I've just mentioned, there are just so many good moments and speeches in the last ones. Don't worry, it's not like a lecture, it's not like we're sitting there listening to people just drone on and on all the time. There are, you know, at specific moments, and they do something, and every time you're just sitting there going, wow, you know, I didn't know that Star Wars could be this, and that's so great. I love that they've done this. You even have in the last few episodes, if you're a fan of him, I definitely am, you have Andy Serkis popping up, obviously a very popular character. Now, if you are familiar with him in the Star Wars franchise, he obviously played Snoke in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Now, I do also feel I need to clarify this, because if you're like a lot of people going, oh, you know, is this, are we getting to see his origin story or something like that? No, we're not. You know, it's a completely different character. They were able to use it because obviously Snoke was a complete CGI creation, looks nothing like Andy Serkis. He was inserted here, and he also has so many great moments and a great speech as well. And yeah, there's just too many to name really, but yes, so if you are a person who does not care about Star Wars because you're like, I don't like the space wizards and space battles with the ships and all these kind of things, but you're interested in, you know, a story set in the future where you're thinking about how would a galactic empire work, how would it treat its citizens and all these kind of things, and would there be an uprising and what would fuel it and all these kind of questions. If that's something that interests you, then this is absolutely the show for you. Like I say, I'll repeat again, it's a political thriller. It's not for kids. You know, this is probably the one Star Wars series that kids are not going to be interested in, because it's definitely not for them. Everything will go over their heads easily, very, very easily. So many likable characters and actors in here, great performances, incredible cinematography, the music's cool as well. This is, without a doubt, and even, in my opinion, it does even beat The Mandalorian. I really like The Mandalorian, but this to date is the best Star Wars show we have had. With the package of Rogue One, you know, that is a great set of Star Wars stories just there. You know, that you can show to people who don't care about all the stereotypical Star Wars stuff, you know. Yeah, so I, as you can tell, absolutely love this series, and I recommend it so highly. You know, if you are a Star Wars fan, you have to watch this. If you were like, I don't care about Cassian Andor, like I was like, I'll give it a go, you know. And once you realise that it's a bit of a slow developing story and what you're getting into, it just builds and it gets better from episode to episode. It really does. It's quite an amazing show. Right, that will be all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below about Andor, its connection to Rogue One. Do you like these? Are you more of the typical Star Wars stories? Do you want more of them? Are you a bit disappointed that they didn't insert something into here that was more akin to that? You know, any of those comments down below, please. I'll thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video on Flying Wiener. Take care. Bye.